Hey, welcome back to the Tax Champion and to the second episode of It's All Your Fault. I learned all of my small business tax and training off my dad Noel and his business partner Bill. And in particular, I used to answer to Bill, and he was a tremendous boss. He really understood small business, he understood tax, all the processes, procedures, and he always had good stories to tell as well. A real character, that Billy Butler. About 6 or 7 years into working with Bill and Noel, I came across a client in fiberglass, and they had a little opening there for someone to come in and help with financial management. So I went into Billy and said to Bill, look, Bill, I want to go down and help these people, and I reckon I could get a little equity stake in this fiberglass business. And Billy said, Pat, what are you doing, mate? They're losers. They are losers. They're dills. I said, Bill, no, I know what I'm doing, mate. I know what I'm doing. So we're talking, and you've got to go back in history for this. You'll notice with the Tax Champ, I'll always go back in history to find some lessons. And so this is like 20 years ago, and I'm 30 years old. So I joined them, wandered down there to this fiberglass company, and yep, I lost my life savings in about 3 months. It was a neat trick, but it all happened within 3 months. So yep, lost my life savings in 3 months. And my mate there I was living with at the time, Peter Leonard, came down to the factory down there in Dandenong, where this fiberglass factory was, outer eastern suburbs of Melbourne, really working class. And Pete helped me drag some of my files, etc., back to where we were living in Dandenong North. Yes, it was tough times. I had the arse out of my pants, but lucky living in Dandenong North, you could sort of get around in trackies, and living with Pete, we're a few doors up from the milk bar, and you've got to take your advantages living in Dandenong North. So you could walk up to the milk bar there in your moccasins, and yeah, that was me. No money, living in Dandenong North, living with a really good mate though, Peter Leonard. And we had one other little advantage. We had a Taswegian landlord who went very easy on us. So that was the other advantage there. But how did I lose my life savings? Well, I'll tell you how I lost my life savings. Here's another neat trick. Here we go. Look at this. So I had a property, my first property ever, in Glen Waverley, right here. Nice little property there in Glen Waverley. And right near was Glen Waverley Secondary College, the #1 state secondary school in Victoria. And just down the road is private Wesley College. And Wesley is one of the top private schools in Victoria. And yep, I had to sell this house here to go into that fiberglass business. And you guessed it, the last 20 years, I would say that house there has been the #1 capital growth property in Melbourne. So what is that all up to? Yep, you guessed it. It adds up to this little pocket here, which is L for loser. And that was a neat trick, losing the life savings that way. There's a couple of lessons there. Okay, number one, it was all my fault. My dad's partner was saying, what are you doing, mate? You are a dill and you're joining dills. And he was right. I was a dill and I was joining dills, but it was all my fault. I ended up with nothing and had to start again. There are 2 lessons in that, okay? And you don't have to learn them yourself if you're going into small business. Number one, and I'd mentioned this before with It's All Your Fault in the first episode, the #1 thing you've got to have right in your business is operations and understanding the operations. So what did I do? I joined a fiberglass business. I didn't understand the operations of the business. First lesson, understand what you're doing and stick to your knitting. We get clients coming in and they look like they're going to get a payout from their job in the city or something, and they want to try something, a cafe or a little gardening business or something like that. And we try to tell them, look, spend 3 months working in that business for nothing to learn if you can understand and work the operations. So #1 lesson, understand the operations. Number 2, you might have heard this before, is don't bet the farm. If you're going to go into small business, don't put your life savings on the line. Don't bet the farm. So that was all my fault. Picked myself up, drove things forward, stuck to my knitting, which is small business tax that I learnt all that stuff off Bill and Noel all those years ago. I've stuck to my knitting and all the way into the future, I will not be betting the farm. So there you go. All my fault, bad luck, move on, but you can learn from that terrible lesson. Bye-bye.